Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the TR4 restoration. Let's go with restoration because there's so many jobs that we need to do on this 1964 TR4. So normally in the beginning of my video I I shoot my intro in front of the project that I am working on, but today it's covered. And it's covered because the next part of the project is really boring. I already started doing this on my GT6 a few days ago, but now I have to start doing the same for the TR4. We're gonna pull the block, so the block is over there. We're gonna bring it here, we're gonna bring the head and everything, and we're gonna start doing pretty much the same thing as what we've done here. And that's why the car is covered, because we don't want to make a mess of it. So it's not going to be very exciting process, so I'm just going to be giving you updates every once in a while of what has been cleaned, derusted, painted, but I'm not going to keep you here for all that process because it's really not interesting. So anyways, without further ado, let me get crack-a-lacking, and after the intro maybe I'll show you a little bit of progress. How about that? Alright, so I brought most of the parts on the table and the rest is all over the place, but these are the parts that we're gonna actually need, or parts of them we're gonna need to reuse. So the block is there. Here we're gonna have to take the pistons off the connecting rods because we're gonna use the connecting rods but not the pistons. The pistons are gonna go in this box where I already started putting discarded parts, so these are gonna go back to the owner. The water pump, the owner gave me a brand new water pump that he bought some time ago, so we're gonna use the new one. This one is gonna go back to him, and you can see bearings and old oil seals and the valves, the timing mechanism. All this is gonna go back to the owner. And of course, as we're going here through these parts, we're gonna find other things I'm sure that we're not gonna use. Like for example, the coil. We are gonna order a new coil, but we need the bracket from here, right? So that's why I put it here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start from this side of the table, and whatever is ready to go, it's gonna go in this bin, and they're gonna wait for the rest of the parts to be cleaned and painted and the new parts to arrive, etc., etc., but they're gonna be ready to go. And then once we're done with this, we're gonna clean the head, we're gonna clean these. These are all the parts that need to be cleaned and painted. And of course we have also hardware. This is all the internal hardware. Remember how I divide my hardware into internal and external. So this is what we call internal hardware. This is the external. So all this needs to be degreased and then derusted, more or less. I'm not gonna go through each and every bolt and nut and derust it, of course, but I'm gonna put everything in evaporust after I degrease it. So the evaporust is a product that removes the rust and gives the metal a coating of something that prevents it from rusting for a while. And here as well, the tappets, of course, are gonna go back to the owner. This we're gonna reuse. I ordered just one for this one because I don't know how well this one is gonna come out, this stud. So we're gonna have to remove it from here. But I ordered a new one just in case if we damage this one, but these are in a good shape. I don't think they need to be replaced. I'm just gonna clean them. Oil pump needs to be cleaned because especially the screen here, you see, I don't know how we're gonna clean it because there's stuff inside. But anyways, we will see what's gonna happen, etc., etc. The rocker shaft, we're getting a new one, but we're gonna clean the springs and the rockers and we're gonna inspect them, of course, the rockers, because I haven't ordered the new parts yet. So if any of them are damaged, we're gonna have to replace them, but they're so sticky, it's crazy. So everything, I'm gonna wash everything nicely with brake cleaner at least, and we're gonna go from there. So yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna hold you here for all that. I'm just gonna be giving you updates every once in a while. All right, so it's a few hours later, and everything is finally degreased. The engine parts are here, degreased. I still have to take out this shaft, and then I'm gonna clean the rockers better, but I think I might need new rockers too. We'll see about that. The connecting rods cleaned up nicely. All the hardware is now washed with brake clean, so it needs to be dipped into evaporust. The oil pump, it cleaned up nicely. Doesn't look like a lot of parts, but took a lot of time. Actually, David Tushingham showed up, the famous chef Tush, and we were discussing with him that it's about time to invest in parts cleaner. I need to invest in a parts cleaner because, like, I use this brush and a can of brake cleaner. And anyways, everything is degreased now, so I still need to wire wheel it so it can be painted. Some of the parts require additional work. Like here, for example, I still have to remove all the studs so I can wire wheel it properly. Maybe we can remove also the valve guides because it's gonna help us clean better. The pulley needs to be taken apart so it can be painted properly and straightened, because somewhere here you see it is a little bit more open. We need to straighten that, and here it is bent, so it's all wonky. We have to straighten it nicely. And here we have to weld a little bit this groove. But let me show you something here which might explain things, because I'm still trying to figure out what happened to this engine. So the push rod got so bent. Somebody suggested that maybe the bore where the tappet travels might be scored or something. Nope, it looks nice. There was a ridge on all of them, but it wasn't a ridge like metal. It was all sludge that was collected there, and none of them was able to come out. Like, the whole engine inside is full of sludge, like you see all this. So we have to wash it nicely, but nothing is damaged there. But here I noticed something which might explain a little bit what happened to it. Here I showed you before I took it apart how there's a pretty deep channel formed by the tensioner for the chain, which is normal on many engines. It happens, but here it is like pretty deep. Look. But I noticed also is that there is a pretty deep dent right here. This is what the tensioner looks like. Okay, let me turn it around a little bit so you can see better. So this is what the tensioner looks like, and it pivots here, and it wears here, like wears all here. But what wore this part? How did that happen? Like, this looks like something like this happened at some point. Did the pivot break and the chain just dragged the whole thing and bent it like this? But actually that cannot be related to the bent push rod, because whatever happened here was fixed after, because obviously we have a new tensioner here, but the push rod was bent with this tensioner, unless they put back the bent push rod. I don't think so. Anyway, so that's part of the problem from when they rebuilt it the first time. Anyway, so what we have to do here is, I'm gonna weld this because that's really deep. That's gonna even cut my finger. So I'm gonna weld this here. That doesn't matter, but here definitely I want to fill this up with weld and grind it flat. Anyway, so lots of cleaning today, but we made some progress. The only dirty part now, the only dirty part that remains now is the block, which we're gonna start working on tomorrow, I guess. But we're gonna have to take the liners off, we're gonna turn it upside down, and we're gonna clean everywhere here, all the sludge. We're gonna clean the crankcase underneath because everything is so black. That's the blackest engine I've ever seen inside. And just so you know, it is Tuesday today, so 2 days until we start working on this again. On Thursday we're gonna work on this again. Chef Tash promised that he's gonna come and help, so we're gonna have to do the same job there. But that's the subject of another video. So for now, I'm going inside because it's dinner time. All right, so it's the next day, and I already stripped a little bit the head. I removed all the studs from this side and the dowels. I removed the studs from the top, and what did I do? Well, that's what I did as well. I bought a parts washer. I bought a parts washer, and I actually took all the hardware and I re-washed it because I wasn't happy how it washed with the brake cleaner. So now everything is degreased nicely, including the hardware down there. I washed the shaft and everything, so that worked better. And now here I'm ready to pour evaporust here now, and I'm gonna let them sit for 24 hours. So tomorrow we're gonna take this hardware out, we're gonna put the other hardware, which is all external hardware. The one that came from inside the engine I'm not gonna touch. These studs maybe only I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna clean them on the, maybe I'm gonna put them on the lathe, and I'm gonna just wire wheel them nicely around. We'll see, because you see here, even though they've been washed, I want to clean them nicely so the head doesn't stuck there anymore. This one, you saw me, you saw how I took it out. It didn't take much, it wasn't that hard. And even though I used the lead hammer, I'm gonna just buy a new one for this one to replace, because I don't know, it feels safer. All right, so I cleaned up these like really roughly. This 1/3 of the hardware is soaking in evaporust, and I disassembled this pulley, but it's like it's pretty bent. I showed you what it looked like. You see, so this one is pretty much okay, but this side is pretty badly bent. And I went and I checked on the Most Motors website. It's not available, of course. I didn't think so. We're gonna have to somehow straighten this. And I'm thinking, if I put it on the lathe maybe, if I bolt it like this and I put it on the lathe, and I can start bending the parts. But which one is the correct? I believe here it is correct, because here you can see the pattern. Here it wasn't even touching. I think right here is where the correct angle is. So here it's obvious here that this is too closed. This needs to be opened. Yeah, looks like right here this part is pretty symmetrical to this part, you see. So we're just gonna run the engine at 8,000 RPM so we don't notice that it's wobbling. Yeah, that's it. All right, it's a few days later and I'm back in the garage to work on the TR4, but I think I'm gonna change directions a little bit. I mean, we're gonna still work on the TR4, but I'm not gonna continue with the engine block, which was my next job that I was planning to do. I was gonna start cleaning it and getting it ready for paint. But first of all, I ordered the paint on Amazon because it's a specific color that we decided with the owner. I couldn't find it on the shelf from Canadian Tire where I normally buy my engine and ammo. So I had to order it and it's gonna come in 7-8 days. So we have enough time for that. Plus, I already started editing the video and so far it appears to be a pretty boring video, just cleaning parts, so let's do some action. I also got some of the parts already, most of them are still on their way, but I got some of them. This means that we can proceed with something a little bit more interesting, which I decided to be replacing the valve guides on the head. Hold on. I was also able to source hardened valve seats for the exhaust, so they are on their way. So this means that when we take it to the machine shop for these seats to be installed, we need to have the new valve guides installed too. I know they can do that, but I'd rather do it myself and save some money. So we're gonna push these valve guides out, we're gonna clean the deck here on top, and we're gonna install the new ones. For this reason, we have this Churchill tool, which was donated by a viewer, Ben McMean. Hi Ben. He gave me this tool a few months back, maybe 7, 8, 10 months back, I don't remember, and I've never used it so far. And he told me that one of the arbors, I think they're called, is not good and I have to fix it. And of course it turns out to be the one that we need for here, which is, I believe, this one. Yeah. So as you can see here, the threads have been damaged, but this is the one that we need for these valve guides. So I need to do something about it. Unfortunately, I haven't done anything about it yet. So I was hoping to be able to use this Churchill tool, but unfortunately I can't. I have to fix that. Even this one is damaged. Oh, that's pretty much the same size, but this one is even bent. You see, it doesn't even want to go in. It is. So, unfortunately, we cannot use any of that right now. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and use my old tool that I made, my kit that I made. So this is what I used in the past for my other heads, for my other head rebuilds. So we're gonna just go ahead on the press and we're gonna push these out with this tool, and then when we're installing the new ones, we're gonna have to use spacers and stuff here to limit how far they go, because here we have a measurement for the protrusion above the head that needs to be followed. And let me show you actually here. I measured these. 7 of them are good according to the spec, but one of them is a little bit too low. You see how all of them are touching here except this one. This one is like probably a millimeter lower than the other ones. And the measurement here is actually, I know this measurement in metric, I don't know why, but it is because it's probably easier to remember it. It is 19.84 millimeters or something like that. It's like it's very close to 20 millimeters, which it is. 1996, 1997, 1992, so it is pretty good, except this one, which is 18 something, I believe, 1810. So anyways, that doesn't really matter right now because these are coming out. We're putting the new ones in. So let's go on the press and push them out with my special tool. Okay, before we go ahead and do all the work, let's talk a little bit about the valve and the valve guides for the exhaust on this head, because this head, as you know, it is used on TR2, 3 and 4. So when I do a research like that to see what happened over the years with this cylinder head or with any other part, I come on the Most Motors website and I check what parts are there available, because they give you the information for that. For example, you can see that the intake valve is the same for all these engines. From TR2 to TR4A, the intake valve is the same. There is this oversized one available, but I believe this is aftermarket. I don't think this is factory. Anyways, but if you come to the exhaust valve, if you click on it, it gives you all these options. So you can see that the early engines, TR2 to 3B and TR4 to CT21470E, all these engines used a valve which had a thicker stem, which was 3/8 inch diameter. And these two are the same size-wise, just different materials used. And here you can see that the late TR4 engines from CT21471E and the 4A engines used a valve with a smaller stem diameter, which is 5/16. I normally don't look at the numbers here. I just go ahead and measure, because many times parts from one car went to another, or parts got converted, like this head, for example, can be converted. Even if it is designed for 3/8 valves and valve guides, it can be converted to 5/16. So maybe somebody's done it in the past. So that's why I don't look at the serial number. I just go ahead and measure. So you have to be careful which valves and valve guides you have before you go ahead and order them. So the same way, if you go to the valve guides, you can see that there are valve guides available for 3/8 valve stems. This one is the same, but it's manganese bronze. And you have the later one from TR4, this serial number, and 4A, which is for 5/16 valve stems. But you also have this adapter valve guide, I would call it, which is for heads that require 3/8 valves, but the inner diameter of the valve guide is reduced to 5/16. So it is for early head, which you want to convert to later valves. So you see what I'm talking about? That some people already converted those. So even if you have the early head, just by changing the valve guide, you can also convert this head to 5/16. So for these early heads, you had different valve guides for intake and exhaust, but for the later heads, you have the same valve guides for intake and exhaust. For example, if you come here, so for the later head, the exhaust valve, if you look at the number here, 830-000, and you go to the intake, it is the same, 830-000. So for the late heads, the intake and the exhaust guides are the same. For the early heads, there's difference. I hope that makes sense. So here on our head, we had them all, they are all for 5/16. I checked all that. All our valves are 5/16, so we have a later head here. So that's it. Now let's go to the press. So I put some plywood here on my press to avoid scratching of the surface of the head, even though when it goes to the machine shop I'm gonna ask them to resurface it quickly, but still it's a good idea to keep it safe. Alright, so I guess I showed you my tool that I made on the lathe, so we're gonna use that. Wow. Okay. And the first one is out. Alright, so this is something that never happened to me before, and I think I know what my problem is, so let me show you. This valve guide shuddered because my tool got worn and it became a cone, so it was pushing more on the inside and pushed the valve guide open and literally shuddered it, and now it's even stuck there. So let's see if we can take it out. Okay. So you see what this is what I'm talking about. This shoulder here became a cone and it is pushing the valve guide open. So for the next ones we're going to put a washer here so we can push flat on them. Like that. Okay, this one came in one piece. Let's see the rest. See, even here it got stuck. Yeah. So the internal diameter of this washer becomes bigger and bigger and it's getting stuck in my tool now. So I'm just gonna try with this smaller washer. Let's see if that's gonna work. I need to make another tool with bigger shoulder. I can make it as big as the external diameter of the valve guide or a little bit smaller. I just need to find something with a bigger diameter and make myself a new tool. So now give me some time to clean it up here, because without the valve guides it's easier to clean it, and then we're gonna start installing the new ones. Alright, so let's install the new ones. So I cleaned it up a little bit, like wire wheeled it quickly with a die grinder, and I have here the new valve guides. So like I said, for this particular head they're all the same, and I don't think they have top and bottom. I think both ends are the same. So let's install this one first. And I have here a collection of spacers that add up to 19.6, I believe, 0.7 millimeters. So that's how it should go. And now again I'm gonna put this washer here because my shoulder is damaged. So let's see if that's gonna work for us. Just gonna go until this is not spinning anymore. There you go. Because if you push, you can go over. So let's measure it now. 1941. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna push it out and we're gonna do it one more time with different spacers. Alright, now we have a different amount of washers here, which adds up to a little bit more. I think that's like 20 millimeters now. Oh, I'm missing my washer here, right? And here I'm gonna use a little bit thicker washer because the other one was bending back and forth. So let's see now. Just gonna keep testing it. Now, got tight, that's where we stop. Let's measure again. $19.70. Okay, this is where we want to be. It's 1984, but that's close enough. All right, so let's install them. Oh. Let's see what is the final result. I think it's pretty good. And they are the correct height, 1972, which is good. 1974. 1988, so they are all in that neighborhood, so we're good. And now with the old valves, I'm gonna check them. I don't have new valves yet, but let's see how it is working. Oh, absolutely no play, you see. Before it was visible, and this is the old valve you have in mind, so might be even more here. Let me try the other one with an exhaust valve. Perfect. Absolutely no movement. All right, and before we end this video, let's look at all the components here that were involved in this collision, whatever we want to call it. So, because some people asked questions and I want to show you now. So this is obviously the bent push rod, and there's absolutely no signs here of any damages on top and the bottom of it. It just got bent and even cracked here in the middle. But it kept working. That's the weirdest part. It kept running, the engine kept running. So obviously somebody adjusted the valves, the valve lash, with the bent push rod. Anyway, so that's it. There's no damage here. The valve doesn't look damaged. Nothing on the face of the valve. Like, I have absolutely no idea why this happened. The rocker though, even older rocker, so this is the one, number 3, it has wear, but not way too much wear. It's not like I'm gonna change them all. I decided, after further inspection, I decided that I'm gonna change them all, because you see this one is pretty worn here. All of them have a little bit of wear, like some, maybe this one is the only one actually, number 3 is the only one that is actually acceptable. Maybe because it wasn't doing too much work after the push rod got bent, I don't know. But yeah, all of them. So I'm getting new rockers. So there's not much that we're gonna use from this here. Only the pedestals and the springs, and if there are spacers here and there, that's what we're gonna use, and the end caps. So that's it. All right, so we've done some actual work after all in this video, after all the cleaning, and I'm gonna be more comfortable ending it, because half of the video was just me talking and cleaning parts. Anyway, so that's how you change the valve guides. Be careful again, some engines have different lengths for intake and exhaust valve guides, some have different diameter, some valve guides have top and bottom, they have different orientation, so be careful with that. Wow, look at that. I was able to snap it. Anyway, so that's gonna be the end of this video, guys, and of course, thank you for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and supporting the channel. Thanks for everything. And with this car, I guess I'm gonna see you next year, because it's almost the end of the year now. It's December 28th today. So thanks for sticking with me, and I hope next year is better for everyone, and we're gonna have more adventures together through the Triumph jungle. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Happy New Year.